I think we're live.
We are live.
Oh,
Hi,
we are.
everybody. Shmaka Magab, and welcome to another Almost Human Live. And as always, we got the great Wayne Noon and
Oh,
the
that's
great
right.
Tony Dio. And Tony, why don't you introduce our guest?
We have the famous Count Ralphus coming straight from New York tonight.
Welcome to the show.
Count
Well,
Ralphus and I do Rock Fantasy Files together pretty regularly. So he's a
Oh,
big
very
movie
cool.
buff, horror buff. So we wanted to have him on tonight.
Very cool. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I want to let everybody know that next Thursday there will not be an Almost Human Live because I'm flying to England. They're going to knight me, dude.
Really?
Yeah. From now on, you
Wow.
call me Sir Fuck after that.
Don't worry, you can just air a rerun.
Yeah. But so yeah, we'll be back 2 weeks. But this week we're gonna talk about the 1986 classic Trick or Treat, which I finished watching today because I haven't seen it in a bit.
Cool cover.
Yeah, I got the vinyl. Honestly, I do. I know I can't show you, but I do. And I got the DVD that everybody's got that later
Oh, the ugly one. Yeah.
Ozzy and
God, what a horrible cover.
and the back has a picture of like the making of the movie.
Yep.
So,
yep.
like, if you've never heard of this movie before, you would think Ozzy and Gene Simmons are part of this like movie, like they're main characters.
They both have just one scene.
Yeah, it's so stupid.
They're in and out of that movie.
Yeah.
It's not an official like release because
no.
they have so much problems with the copyright because of all the music. And even just like the stuff hanging on the Skippy's walls there and stuff, all the posters and everything, that there's like copyright problems with it all. So that's why there's no like official like release. I know that I think it was on VHS back in the day, but this is pretty much what you find on DVD.
Yeah. Well, they're supposed to be making a remastered version of it, and it kind of just like stopped. I don't know. I haven't heard any news or anything about it lately, so I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. There was a version you could get on Blu-ray that came. It was 2 discs, and then it had the soundtrack on another disc. So I don't know if the soundtrack was the score or was it the Fastway songs or whatever. Because, but you could find them on eBay a few years ago, and it had the correct, had this on the cover, of course. But in some countries, this movie was called Ragman. And also in some Death at 33 RPM. I've seen the Ragman cover. It's the same art as this. It just says Ragman.
All right.
I saw the Ragman movie today. That's the version I saw, the Ragman movie.
That's what's on YouTube?
No, it's not on YouTube. I looked for it.
Okay, I thought it was on YouTube.
It is on YouTube because I watched it on YouTube today.
Well, I couldn't find it, and I went.
It's very hard to find. I had to search it on Google, and then Google took me a link to get there, and it's got Spanish subtitles. So, but yeah, that's
well. I went to one.
So Manny could watch it.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
And he'd understand
it.
Yeah. I went to 1-2-3 movies. You ever go to there?
Yeah.
1-2-3 movies. There's many sites called 1-2-3 movies, and you type in the movie, and it's usually there. And what I found was Ragman. It was Ragman. I was like, oh, but it was no different.
Yeah, no.
There was nothing different about it. It was exactly the same as the trip, but they just called it Ragman.
As soon as I found out I was going to be on this episode, I watched it on I got a digital projector. I got like a 30-foot screen outside on my garage. So I watched it really big on the big screen. But I just watched it. I didn't take no notes. And then I rewatched it today, and I paused it every time I seen a different sticker or a different button, and I tried to write down all the little tiny things. So I got a whole list of
oh my God, you came prepared.
Shit that I could see in there. But there's a lot of stuff you can't see. Like this on Blu-ray, maybe I would actually see it, but there's other things that maybe Tony would recognize the picture. Like some things, like you have to really know the image. Like there's a part where he pulls the cassette out at the dance and he throws it on a pile of other cassettes, and I paused it And if you look really good, it's really blurry, but you could see like Theater of Pain, and you could see Hellbent for Leather in the pile of cassettes. But if you didn't know, you wouldn't be able to actually read it saying that, but like you just know the image. So there's stuff that maybe other people might have seen that I didn't see, you know?
Yeah. There's that one scene where his mom comes in his room and she starts flipping through the albums, and you see the Sabotage, Raven, Impaler, Exciter, and Possessed. And then there's like posters all on his wall. But I thought it was funny because he's got like Judas Priest and Motley Crue, Twisted Sister. And he's got a Poison poster in between all this stuff. You know?
Yeah.
That's false metal.
And Anthrax, Armed and Dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah, the Armed and Dangerous era.
Yeah, some cool.
There was Raven. We had Raven. The Pack is Back.
Mm-hmm.
What other ones did we? Oh, there was one. It was one that was really crazy though. I was pausing it and I kept trying to like get the whole image, and the goes into the next frame as they're showing the posters, and all I see is like I see it says HJNCTR. I'm like, Head Jinker? What the hell is that? And it's just written really weird. And then it hit me that it's a friggin' Mighty Sphincter poster. And like this is an album. I don't know if you guys know this band, but this shit is like so crazy and it's so bizarre for its time when it came out. Like I can't even today, if you hear this album, this one's called Ghost Walking Double EP. But if you listen to this, you won't even know how to describe it. But there's a poster of it in his room, but you only see a couple of letters. And I paused and I looked at it for a while. I'm like, what could that be saying? And then I finally realized, oh shit, that's a Mighty Sphincter. What a really rare thing that they had in his room, you know?
Man. That's really odd. You wonder who put that stuff together. You know, it had to be a couple of heavy metal fans on the set. I mean, was it Charles Martin Smith was he was like the director of the film. You know, he was what was his name? He was with Toad in American Graffiti. He played a Toad in American Graffiti.
Yeah.
And he plays the principal, was at Mr. Wembley in the film, like at the high school dance.
Yeah,
but I don't see him being like a big underground metal fan or whatever, you know. But
it's not him. It's the guy who wrote the movie. He wrote it about himself.
Topham,
it was like
Topham.
Yeah, it was like him growing up.
I wrote it down. Rhett Topham was his name because he said he based the character of Eddie kind of on his high school life.
Yeah.
You know.
So he got picked on because he liked heavy metal. Interesting.
Imagine that.
The director, it's weird how the director was more of an actor. Like he's in the Untouchables, The Beast, Deep Impact. What else? Even way back to the Brady Bunch, he was on TV shows. Grizzly Adams, the 1985.
He was in the Buddy Holly story too. I remember.
Yeah, the Buddy Holly story, Ray Bradbury Theater, Tales from the Crypt, Outer Limits, X-Files. So he's more of an actor, and this was his directorial debut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Straight to rental.
Yeah.
I remember going to see that movie the opening weekend. That it was, you know, I kept reading about it in magazines that was coming out, and it played here. I mean, I live in a little podink town, you know, in North Carolina or whatever, but it actually played here, and I went, saw it on the opening weekend, and it was great. I think the soundtrack may have came out before it. It seems like I had the soundtrack before seeing the movie, possibly. But speaking of which, there are other songs on the soundtrack. If you remember the part where he goes to the radio station and he meets up with Nuke, played by Gene Simmons, the DJ. You hear "Screaming Till You Like It" by Wasp playing in the background, but it's not Wasp doing it. It's actually a band called Only Child. The lead singer was a guy named Paul Sabu, who did a lot of movie soundtrack stuff. I mean, he like Hard Rock Zombies. He wrote all the music that you hear in that movie. And but that's the original version. Of "Screaming Till You Like It" is from the Only Child version. I've got that CD in here somewhere.
Yeah, I know. I knew that was a cover song, The Wasp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you know the other Wasp relationship to this movie? The other thing about Wasp
Well,
with this movie?
I'll let you tell Count Ralphus, but I've heard two different stories, one from Blackie and then a different story. But you tell me what you heard, and I'll tell you the other one.
What I heard was that they wanted to give Blackie the lead role, but he was not going to do lip syncing to the Fastway songs, even though he'll actually go out on tour today and lip sync to his own music. But
that's his.
He refused to do it. He wanted to do the soundtrack and be the actor or the part, you know. And I heard that's why he
Sammy
refused
Kerr.
it.
Yeah, that's actually a story even told in the making of.
I wouldn't blame him.
Well, not making of. There was a guy that did a story on it, and he brought that same story up that Blackie didn't want to do it because he didn't want to sing the Fastway songs. Now, when I met Blackie, they brought that up, and his story was he got the script to this movie, and he absolutely hated it. He's like, I ain't doing this crap. And then he said he went and saw it in the movies, and he loved it. And he was like, wait a second, that ain't the script I wrote. I would have done it. So I don't know. There's two conflicting stories there, you know. And
the other thing that mixes with Wasp kind of a little bit is the PMRC hearings. Like when they announce his death, they show him like sitting down at a table, like defending his music and stuff, and it looks like the Dee Snider like defending against the PMRC at the time. So there's kind of, and you know, Wasp of course was on that the Ted Deadly songs or whatever it was called,
Filthy 15.
Right.
Oh yes. Filthy.
Yeah,
I wouldn't blame him for not wanting to sing somebody else's, even if he's lip syncing. I can understand that, you know, especially being part of a movie. You would think he would want to have his music in that movie. So I get it.
And they offered the role of Sammy Kerr to Gene Simmons too.
Mm-hmm.
And Gene Simmons,
I heard that too.
He said he didn't want to do it because it was too close to home. But man, in retrospect, Gene had a shitty little role. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was in and out of that movie. But if he would have played the main character, then that would have been awesome. Awesome for him.
Yeah.
He should have at least had his death scene. They didn't even have his death scene. Like all you see is like a burnt up clothes in his DJ chair. Like he could have had a good death scene. And then Ralph could have been using that like clip over and over again when he's doing The Only News That Matters. Whenever it's about Gene Simmons, he could add the death scene of Gene, but we never get to see him die. He just.
I'm surprised you heard about Gene Simmons. I thought Sammy Hagar said he was going to be Sammy Kerr. Just because his name was already Sammy. Yeah.
Sammy Hagar.
I thought, yeah.
It was Sammy.
It works.
And
so you want to talk about that actor Tony Fields that plays Sammy Kerr? I'm sure a lot of you know about him, but he died.
I remember him.
1995.
He died pretty young.
Yeah, he was 36 when he died. He's 38 when he dies in the movie, though. They say he's 38 when they're announcing his death as Sammy Kerr. But he died of AIDS. And he was a dancer. I mean, you see some of those stage moves that he does. He jumps on the drum riser and then he does like a twist and lands. And I was like, damn, this guy like really practices stage move. But turns out like he got famous for his performances on Solid Gold. And he's in several Michael Jackson videos, Beat It and Thriller he's in. And he's even in a Queen video called Body Language.
He's in Running in the Night. Running in the Night by Lionel Richie. Yeah. I remember seeing him. He's got a pretty few some close-ups in the Michael Jackson Beat It video with the gang fights and stuff. But I always remember seeing him on Solid Gold.
You know who one of the dancers was in Beat It, the video?
Who's that?
Tracy Guns.
Really?
True story. Tracy Guns was a dancer in the Beat It video.
Wow.
Is that crazy?
Yeah. But I mean, he played the role very well. I mean, he did a good job on it. You know, I mean,
he was great.
He sold it for sure. The concert scene. So you know, they filmed that. Well, the high school was Lake Ridge High School, which is in New Hanover County. So that's North Carolina. So because I live in North Carolina, and so that's Wilmington. You know, that Greg trying to get in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's Wilmington, North Carolina. They used to film a lot of films there back in the day, and they filmed it at the high school there was like New Hanover High School. I've met people over the years who were in the film, who were extras at the concert footage and stuff like that. There was one guy. I only met this guy once. He was pretty well known. And I didn't grow up in that area, so I didn't really hang in the Wilmington, North Carolina rock scene and stuff. But there's a guy who was well known. His name was Kevin Davis. They called him Cuz, and he ended up being the drummer. He's the drummer in the band. You know, has to count it off with the beats and all. And he passed away a few years ago, but sadly. But I did see where I think I saw online where that was the special effects guy, Kevin Yeager. He was the guitar player that goes and turns the amp on, and Sammy, pretty much comes out and the amp and kills him.
Yeah, grabs his face.
Yeah, he was the guy that did all the special effects, and the name of the band was the Kickers. That's a really cool heavy metal name, isn't it? The Kickers. What's up, Greg?
And that guy has a great line of movies that he worked on. He did a bunch of the Freddy Krueger movies and stuff.
Yeah.
He's a great special effects guy. He went on to
Tales from the Crypt, all kinds of stuff. Yeah. And I think it was one other guy was talking about the actors in the movie. The guy that played Roger, which was Ragman's best friend, Glenn Morgan. That was the only film he ever did. He went on to be a director and producer. He did the X-Files, The Final Destination. He did the Black Christmas movies like in the later 2000s and like Willard. But yeah, that was the only movie he ever
acted. He did the remix.
He also wrote in the Trick or Treat. Some of that shit's written by him.
Yeah, he did a really good job.
He's a writer, producer, and director.
He was the perfect nerdy sidekick. I mean, he did a great job in that film,
Hey, Craig, did you see it in the theater when it came out?
No, I was like a baby.
All right. Well, Wayne said you love the movie, so talk about what this means to you. What this movie means to you.
Oh, well, man, I was the rag man, it was cool. I discovered it when I was about 13, late 90s, nobody really was into this type of metal. They were listening to stuff like Slipknot and the Deftones. I'm like, get out of here. So it had the Fastway soundtrack, which is awesome. That's how I first discovered them. And it's a cool movie. It's an old De Laurentiis one. Shot down in Wilmington there, like Tony was mentioning, much like Maximum Overdrive was, another movie with a killer soundtrack. And
absolutely, yeah.
Another Maximum Overdrive, another killer.
But
that movie was a bomb, but that movie is awesome. I love Maximum Overdrive. That movie got a lot of shit because Stephen King directed it while he was on Blow. and Trick or Treat it did good in the box office. Like I believe it was $3 million to make, and it made $5 million.
That's good.
And then it made.
I read $6 million.
All right, then $6 million. Then I read it made even more in rental and the VHS. So and it became like a cult classic. I was watching an episode on this. I'm repeating what they said. It became a cult classic, but then it kind of got lost in the shuffle, like through the years, So now it's not so much a cult classic anymore, but hopefully that'll happen if they ever release it, re-release.
Yeah, you say Trick or Treat now, and they think about that movie Trick with R Treat.
Yeah, I always see that one.
I've never watched that. I've never seen that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you gotta watch it. This is really great movie. It's nothing like it.
Movie.
But my wife rewatches this every year at Halloween time, and so it's actually a real fun movie.
Yeah,
right, I'll check it out.
But I only heard of the actual movie because of Greg, because we actually watched that on our show. What was it, like 2 years ago? I think it was, right?
Yeah, 2 years ago. And well, it only ever got put out on DVD once in one of them like cheap Walmart type bin deals, real cheap company video transfer, because there's been issues with the rights to the music. how to
Yeah.
distribute it worldwide for years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I always
Maybe-
remember
ma-
seeing the soundtrack, and I'm like, "Who the hell's this band Trick or Treat?" I didn't realize it was Fastway because it's on the bottom and it's in the small print there. So I've always saw the song
What are
soundtrack,
you
but I didn't realize
afraid
it was
of?
a movie.
It's only rock and roll.
Yeah, they did all new
There's one at my
songs.
local record store right now. An old copy that Tony has. But it's $100 for the original on
Yeah, they're
vinyl.
quite. It got a reissue last year, but those sold out pretty fast, and they were $40-$50 new. But Fastway did the soundtrack, and they did all new songs except there was 2 songs. Heft was from the first Fastway album, and If You Could See was from the second album, All Fired Up. I actually met Mark Price, who played Ragman. A couple years ago, he did they had the chainsaw, the North Carolina Chainsaw Massacre Metal Fest here, and they had a bunch of death metal and thrash metal bands playing, but it tied it in with horror, and they had some horror celebrities, and they got Mark Price to come and be a part of it, and he did some stand up that night. He's not a great stand up comic at all. It was pretty bad. But I was able to get him to autograph my album. He was able to sign the back of it for me.
That's so cool.
I was telling
That's awesome.
Count Ralphus I met Dave King, before as well. But I didn't have any records with me. I was working for Flogging Molly, so I didn't bring anything to get autographed because I didn't even think I'd see him, and I ended up, driving him to his hotel. Yeah, I drove him, Wayne.
I was going to say another one.
I drove him to his hotel. Yeah, I told him what Fastway meant to me. I told him I was a big fan, and he was very, very nice. Very, very nice.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard he doesn't like to talk about it, but it was funny because he said, well, thanks for telling me that. He goes, what's your name? And I said, they call me Dio. And he goes, Dio, I know Vivian. Like, oh yeah. And I told him about I just saw Last in Line recently, and he said, oh yeah, that's cool. I heard he was doing the Dio stuff again. He's very friendly, very friendly.
All right, cool.
Yeah, I you know what, man? It's timeline with me, but the first Fastway to me is the best one. A lot of people think Trick or Treat's the best one, and Trick or Treat's a great soundtrack. Don't get it twisted. Let's cut the deck. But that first album, man, we become.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I love it. Such good riffs on that one.
What a fucking amazing! And I was lucky enough to see them over for AC/DC on the Flick of the Switch tour.
Wow.
Yeah, on that first album, and it was
it
freaking
would have
amazing.
been cool. It'd have been cool if they had called the album "Songs in the Key of Death," like the Sammy Kerr album supposedly could be called in the movie.
And the song, I wrote a song about this movie on the second Thrasher Die album, and it's called "Song in the Key of Death," where the whole, like there's a part in the song where it's like, legislate me and we will bring you down. We will bring you down. I took little things from the movie and like the beginning speech, that whole satanic thing in the beginning.
Yeah, you should put that link that in the comments after we close out.
Yeah, I'll put the video in the comments so y'all can check it out. Because I wrote a song, and my good friend Emil, who's awesome, he has a really good crossover thrash band just over for DRI. He said, "Dude, I didn't know about this movie till that song." Because the song I wrote, it starts with Sammy Kerr saying, "No wimps, no false metal," and it goes right.
Yeah, Death of False Metal.
Yeah.
Uses the Man of War, Death of False Metal, and then he looks like a false metal fucking guy.
Every time
there's a band out now called 6-6 Crush. They had to have gotten it from the movie.
Yeah. And I say that in the song, Metal Machine 6-6. And then the song ends with that clip of the movie where it's saying Metal Machine 6-6 Crush. And what's up with that song? Oh, it's the last song ever to Sammy Kerr. What is that? It's just guitar noises and background music.
Yeah.
It's
reverse guitar. It sounds like reverse guitar solos. Yeah.
It's a mess, but I'll tell you, the part of that movie that always makes me laugh, and I always forget it happens till it happens, is when he's trying to call out Sammy Kerr with Sammy Kerr in the backseat, the radio, and he's trying to call him out, like, come on. And then he goes, he's driving for a while saying all the shit to Sammy Curry and ain't showing up. And then he goes, "You ain't nothing but a wimp poser." And that's when Sammy Curry was like, "Wow."
Yeah, he could take it. He got under his skin with that line.
Yeah, for
It
sure.
always cracks me up, that part. "Ah, you
My
know."
favorite part is when they're showing the clips of him after when he died, like the news clip. They show him biting the head off a snake, and he's
Oh,
rubbing
yeah.
the blood all over. That's totally like Ozzy biting the head off
Yeah.
the bat. And I like how they used a lot of little things like that from real life. Like, and they even the beginning of the movie when it's totally Number of the Beast, basically the whole intro into the movie. And even calling him Eddie, the main kid was Eddie. That's supposedly like an Iron Maiden like tip to Iron Maiden there.
Yeah, speaking of Ozzy played Reverend Aaron Gilstrom, and they said they didn't give him any dialogue. He just winged everything he said. He winged because he had heard it.
Yeah, he ad-libbed.
He heard these televangelists talking about him, and he knew, and he just kind of repeated what they were saying about him and about all the heavy metal bands.
The director said it was 43 minutes of ad-libbing.
God, I'd love to have a tape of that. That would be hilarious.
That's why we need a Blu-ray with like all the special features and a whole section just called ad-libbing for 45 minutes with Ozzy.
Add that making of that I sent you guys because there's a making of Trick or Treat out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I watched it. It was cool.
And
more
money, man. Oh, all right. Now I'm going to tell you what it's not that I don't like about the movie, but look, it's a popcorn movie. It's not meant to be serious, But
comic relief.
I feel Mark Price wasn't a good choice in casting.
Well, they said Keanu Reeves was up for it as well.
Yeah, Keanu Reeves was up for it.
I'd rather have Mark Price than Keanu Reeves. And nothing against Keanu Reeves, but his voice to me, I don't know. When he talks, it's not good acting.
It's always the same. Like he's just very monotone.
But he was a great metalhead in River's Edge, though. In River's Edge, he was perfect for that role.
No, I don't have nothing against him. But if I had to choose, I'd take Mark Price over Keanu Reeves.
Oh yeah,
I thought. I thought Bart did a great job. I mean, he was a nerdy kid on Family Ties as Skippy. I mean, it's perfect to play it in the Trick or Treat movie,
Yeah,
but there was just that
more
one
organic, and it worked really well. And
that one scene, him in the hallway, he's like, "Ciao." What the fuck?
Yeah, that was a Skippyism coming back for sure.
I used to smoke a lot of PCP, so it made sense. But before I forget, Tony, you were talking about the reverse guitar riffs and all that. The song "Hold On to the Night" is only ever played in the movie backwards.
Is that what's playing backwards? Yeah.
I always thought that was cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a couple other people that were in the film that I was kind of looking up. See, I know like
Large Marge was in there. I don't know her real name.
Leslie, Lisa Orgonley or something like this. Her name. I don't recall her. I was seeing her early in anything, but she may have been in some other films. But Doug Savin, of course, he played Tim. He was on Melrose Place. I remember that. And Jeannie was Elise Richards. I don't recall seeing her in anything else either. She kind of looked like the girl from Little House on the Prairie. I used to think that's who it was, but
she looks familiar, that actress.
Yeah, she looked like the girl that played the blind girl on Little House on the Prairie, but it's not the same actress.
I know. I probably saw her on a sitcom or something because she looks very familiar.
And the bully Doug Savin, though, he's also was in Godzilla 1998, Teen Wolf, Maniac Cop 3, Badge of Silence, and he appeared in a lot of TV shows, the Outer Limits remakes, and the X-Files, another X-Files connection, and Lucifer in the 80s, Alfred Hitchcock Presents.
Yeah, did Doug Savin, did he do the movie with Gene Simmons where Gene Simmons was a was it Red Surf or something where Gene Simmons played like a terrorist? I was thinking that was him possibly in that as well. I can't remember.
Are you thinking of Wanted Dead or Alive?
No, Gene played a terrorist in a movie.
The guy with the mustache that had that the famous mustache guy. in the 80s.
Someone out there might be able to tell us.
I
Some-
That was
someone
that
out-
was Gene's first movie. Gene's first movie you're talking about, where they had the little machines were running around.
No, that was
That's
Runaway.
blowing up and
That was
stuff.
Runaway with Tom
Runaway.
Selleck. But Gene
Oh,
did a
that's
movie
what I was
later
thinking
on
of.
that was called something. Wayne, look it up. Gene Simmons on.
Mm.
He did a movie. He was a terrorist. Yeah, but I think
Sure.
Doug Savant was in there as well.
Because he was a terrorist and wanted Dead or Alive as well.
Okay,
And he played.
maybe that's what. Maybe that's what I'm
It
thinking
came,
of.
it came up. Wanted Dead or Alive, and then another movie, Never Too Young to Die.
Oh, that one's
That-
bad.
That's the
that-
one where he played a transvestite. Yeah,
Oh,
he wore he wore the same wig and clothes that he wore on the Asylum tour.
Yeah.
But the woman who played Large Marge was in this movie as well. She's the one that got ripped out of the television when Sammy ripped
Oh,
out.
that was Large Marge.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I didn't know that.
didn't know
What was her
that.
name? Like Sylvia, Miss
I don't
Sylvia
know her
Cap
real name.
something. Yeah,
She'll always be Large Marge to me. So I don't know.
yeah. That's funny when he ripped her out. And
Yeah,
that
and then it
scene
comes
just
out and
looks
it's like
a
this little
doll.
yeah.
I like how he then vacuums.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vacuum her up. That shit's hilarious.
Rogers in there.
He
with
does the
vacuum.
same thing to Ozzy, where he grabs Ozzy's face, and that's kind of how he sort of kills Ozzy. But then at the end of the movie, after all the credits, there's a
There's
quick
the
little
Ozzy
Ozzy thing talking
Yeah.
about people being perverted and stuff. And then
These
Marvel
evil
movie
people
do
have
that
to
with
be
every movie
stopped.
now. They're the first ones to do that. I think, probably
Yeah.
not, but
A
it's
little
an early one
reprise.
for like the after the credits like little thing at the end.
Mm.
Yeah, it's got to wherever I watch a movie now, I have to watch it through the credits because you feel like something's going to pop
Always.
up. And I hate it when you're streaming a movie and it cuts off and goes to another
Oh,
movie
yeah.
before it gets to the end. That just pisses me off. But yeah, a lot of times I'll sit in the theater now and just wait to see what happens at the end because you feel like something's going to pop up.
Mm. My
Yeah.
least favorite part of this whole movie, and somebody mentioned it here in the comments too, is when he starts ripping down the posters of all those
Yeah.
bands. I'm like,
Yeah, that
no,
hurt. That hurt.
it really did because there was so many cool posters up there. He just ripped them all. I'm like, oh my god, would love to have those posters.
Yeah.
So I made
Yeah.
a list of all of them. If you want to hear, like
Go
this
ahead.
is
Yeah.
just
Go for it.
I wrote a little thing said stuff in Skippy's room. I keep calling him Skippy. Ragman. He's
Yeah,
always Skippy
yes.
to me. But I see a Magic 8 Ball, one of those things you shake up. I see a bunch of board games. Rock On book. It's a book called Rock On, and some other rock books. But you can't really see. Like maybe on Blu-ray you'd see what the other books are, but it's hard to read. He's got some studs and spikes and handcuffs and chains. Then he's got a Judas Priest. It looks like a Defenders of the Faith calendar, little calendar.
I had
Then he's
that
got a
calendar.
Kiss. Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool. He has a Kiss Army button, a badge. You can see it hanging on his wall there, and he's got skulls. Then he's got an Anthrax hat just sitting there. I just paused it like every couple seconds and just try to see what I could see. You can see some kind of Twisted Sister come out and play like either a shirt or a bandana that's like sitting behind something. Then posters, you see Lizzie Borden, Anthrax, Armed and Dangerous Era, Raven, The Pack is Back, Ozzy, Diary of Madman, Blacklight poster, Twisted Sister poster, Kiss Animalize
Wow.
poster, and then there's a Love Gun poster. And I think the Love Gun poster was like a pinball poster or something, or not a pinball, but it's something that was supposed to have a frame. I remember King Fowley was saying something about the actual, he was like raffling off the poster version, and he had the same thing hanging up. It's like a shiny version of a Love Gun poster. There's a Bon Jovi poster in Nuke's DJ booth that you can barely see. But the Mighty Schwinkter poster, I couldn't believe that when I seen that. There's a Motley Crue Shout at the Devil centerfold poster, and Judas Priest Defenders of the Faith Blacklight poster. There's a British Steel banner flag. And if you go to Skippy's locker, I got a little thing about Skippy's locker, but where did I write that?
I saw
down?
Lizzie Borden. Lizzie
Oh,
Borden.
Yep. Lizzie Borden was in
Yep,
the locker.
it's
I
get-
remember.
There's also a Bark at the Moon bumper sticker on Skippy's locker. He's reading a Cream magazine as he's like sitting at his locker, and there's like a Motley Crue picture, and then he has an Iron Maiden Purgatory button on his vest. He wears a couple different vests throughout the movies, but there's a picture of some band on his locker that I can't make out who it is. It's one of those things where you could see there's a picture, and I paused it, but you just can't see it who it is. I can't tell who it is, but his other vest has an Iron Maiden Made in Japan button on it, and a couple other buttons, but I can't make them out. His notebook had a Lizzie Borden sticker on it. His car has a Ragman license plate with the Motley Crue and Kiss bumper sticker, and then something
North
says
Carolina plates.
Omniarch. Yeah. He's wearing a Spreading the Disease shirt at one point, which I used to own that shirt. And also he had this shirt on. This was a really popular shirt back in the day. This thing fell apart on me, and I'm a pack rat and I keep everything. So even though it fell apart, I still have like the cutout part, and then it's been eaten up in my garage for years. But it's like the humans are doing like a pose to look like a skull. This was a popular shirt back then, and he's wearing it in there. And then he's got an alternative Tentacles shirt at one point, the Dead Kennedys record label. Yeah. Oh, and when his mother is folding up the laundry, if you pause it the right way, you see she's folding up a Raven shirt. That's like one of those ones. If you're not pausing it and looking,
wow.
You already mentioned the albums. So yeah, that's it for now. That was like a bunch of shit that I seen.
Oh well,
yeah.
Check it out, everybody. I'm about to do an impression here. I am Rick Allen during Pyromania. Now I am Rick Allen during Hysteria.
And now that you want to do it, it won't work.
There
it goes.
There it goes.
I'm Rick Allen during Hysteria. That's my impression of this week.
That's all. That's awesome. I was going to say for what Count Ralph was saying. Yeah, I mean, I guess Rhett Topham really done his homework when he started putting stuff together, because he was like wanted to make sure that everything looked legit. You know. But,
yeah.
Hey, I looked up. I was talking about that movie that Gene Simmons did with Doug Savant, and it was Red Surf, and it came out in 1989. That was the film. I knew it was Red something, but yeah, they did a movie together later on. So yeah, but,
I don't think I've seen that one.
So is Tony and me the only ones that saw it in the theater when it was new?
Yeah, I wasn't. When did it come out?
86.
86. Yeah, I was 6 years old.
October of 86. Yep, I believe. Yeah,
I was like 3. So
I was so into Rain and Blood at that time that when I seen just like the trailer for this or the commercial for it, I don't think it like hit me as something that I needed to see at the time. I appreciated it later when I started seeing it on like HBO or whatever played it, you know.
There was a video for After Midnight that they showed on Headbangers Ball, and it had Tony Fields lip syncing to with Fast Eddie Clark, and they were doing the song, you know. And then there's one for
they got him to be in the video,
yeah. And then there's one just cut with movie clips as well for Trick or Treat, you know, for Rockin' After Midnight. That is, you know, the song After Midnight.
The recording of the album was really Dave King's last obligation to Fastway.
Wasn't Waiting for the Roar after Trick or Treat?
No, Waiting.
It was actually
before Trick or Treat.
Yeah,
and
which is weird because Waiting for the Roar is like a totally commercial AOR record, and if you look at the credits, Fast Eddie Clark didn't write a thing on that album. It was all Dave King and the keyboard player. So
Dave King got very popular and pretty famous very young, and after the All Fired Up tour, he got this total attitude. Charlie McCracken and Jerry Shirley had to leave the other obligations anyway, so Eddie said, okay, bring in your mates from your old band and let's make a record, and that's what he did, and he kind of took it to heart. It tanked, so that's a big reason why Trick or Treat is so formulaic. It was their last obligation, but Eddie said it was the easiest time I ever had working with them, honestly, because the movie company wanted this type of song right here, this type of song right here. It had to go along with this scene, and he said it was probably the most pleasant experience he had with them, but it doesn't have the fire of the first albums. It's still a good one, though. But funny thing is, when I first saw this and all in the late 90s and was getting into it, you could really only find Trick or Treat. That was like the only Fastway album that was in print. Now it's completely shifted. And
But
I
if you
actually,
wanted vinyl, you could have found the first one because the first album's in every store, right next to that copy of Crocus Headhunter. It's in every store.
yeah, that was still like that in Tower Records even then.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's going. Got anything going on in the conversations here on the chat?
Mark
Wayne?
Daly says, last info nugget I have, the album by Sammy Kerr, Songs in the Key of Death, or a play on Stevie Wonder's Songs in the Key of Life.
Yeah.
Cool.
Didn't know that. Edward Silver saw it in a theater in Sacramento. And then Mark Daly said it was filmed in North Carolina, like you mentioned, Tony. Somebody else saw it in a theater too. Mark, he saw it in Oklahoma. I'm just kind of reading backwards here. The head guy from Family Ties was Nick. He reminded me of John Rambo. The head guy was better role than Skippy. Skippy was eventually written off. I didn't really watch that show. I didn't really care for that show too much.
I liked Family Ties for a little while there.
A little bit, but it's just I don't know.
I liked the Michael J. Fox character. He was like conservative, and his parents were like Democratic hippies. It was awesome.
The weird thing about back then is that we all watched these shows because we only had like 10 channels.
There wasn't many
then.
on.
Now you
right?
got 8 million things. Yeah, so it's like you watch shit that you didn't even really give a fuck about, but that's why we all know who Skippy is, you know.
Yeah.
No, and even the early years of cable, when we had 40, 50 channels, they all weren't as good as ABC, NBC, and CBS. Those were still dominating during the cable years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
cable was like kind of crappy. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the movie channels were okay, but they showed the same movies over and over again. But but
Were we
it's still,
shown, Greg?
huh?
Greg,
Oh,
you
I
had
said,
something.
here's a neat one I have because I love Fastway, so I have all kinds of stuff. This is how it was released in Bolivia only, 4-track 7-inch.
Wow, that's very cool.
Yeah, just Trick or Treat after midnight, get tough and tear down the walls.
But it is called Trick or Treat there, not Ragman, correct?
Yes, this one is actually called Trick or Treat. So, I forget which countries it was where they called it Ragman, but yeah, they did do that for some of them.
So we were saying that it was filmed in North Carolina. Actually, sometime I think it's still week of Halloween this year. I have to go back. I should have went and researched it, but I remember seeing an article about it. But they're going to show the film in the the gymnasium where it was filmed at.
Wow. That's cool.
Which is that school is now part of UNC Wilmington, which is the college there. But yeah,
are you talking about the YouTube video?
No, they're going to show they're going to show the movie. Somebody's going to set up and show the movie in the gymnasium during Halloween season.
Oh, that's awesome. You know, on YouTube,
that's cool.
On YouTube, there's a video that it's the dude showing you the locations of where.
Yeah, it's a guy on YouTube that does locations of movies. He goes out to various locations where famous movies are filmed, and he does one on Trick or Treat. Yeah, you can find that on YouTube. It's really interesting. He finds Ragman's house and everything. That's pretty cool.
Bronson says he loves Trick or Treat, and his favorite line from the movie is "Let the big fish hook themselves. You're the bait is you."
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
Bronson was the one that donated for me to put the Trick or Treat soundtrack against I forgot what. And a lot of people, man, a lot of people out there know this movie and love this movie. You know, especially people from my generation. You know. This is stuff that it was an event.
It's a good movie. If you love heavy metal, I mean, this is like the movie for you to watch. It's just there's so many things in there that just, especially people that are a little bit younger too, because they didn't know a lot about that. See those posters and have all those albums and stuff. So it's cool to see all those things in that movie, and it's a really fun watch. I was kind of worried about watching it when I watched it the first time because I'm like, this looks corny. It just started off corny. I'm like, I'm not gonna like this, but I ended up loving it. When it was over, and it's a really, really good movie.
If you like horror movies from the 80s, easy, just 80s cheesy horror, and you like heavy metal from the 80s, you got to see it if you've never
Oh, yeah.
seen it.
Yeah, it's
And you can
definitely a
find it.
nostalgia.
And it's not one of those movies. It's not like a bloody, gory horror movie either. You know, they got that one scene where he tells him to go to the machine room or whatever, and that machine's getting right towards his eye. And I'm like, no, please, I don't want to see
Yeah.
this guy's head explode. And it didn't. But
Yeah, that was like a Fulci. That was going to be a Fulci scene for a second.
Yeah.
There. It was going to go right into
Yeah.
his head and stuff.
Yeah,
and then
that
all of a
would've
sudden
been
it stopped.
great.
And the
Well,
same
it-
thing with the girl getting like
Your
listening to the
ears
tape.
melt.
And she's
Yeah.
getting
Yeah,
undressed and she's got
but later
she doesn't
on,
even die.
Right.
later on in the movie, the guy's head does explode.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
there's
main Kurt
there's
picks him
some
up, and then he licks like the electricity and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
that's
guy
right. That's right.
exploded.
Yeah.
It's okay. I don't want nothing going near anybody's eye. That's
Yeah, you know what that reminds me of? You ever
What?
seen that movie Zombie? There's a scene in the movie Zombie where a zombie throws his hand, grabs the girl by the hair, and pulling her toward the thing, and there's this sharp little wood thing coming out of where he busted it,
Yeah.
and it's coming right to her eye. And she's like, ah, and it goes all the way in. And I'm like, dude, in reality, it's like, shit, get this out of the way.
Yeah.
Get that shit out of the way. That could do some damage to my eye. But she
Yeah.
didn't. She just went, ah.
And 99% of movies would have just like either stopped right there or just heard a scream or something.
Right,
but in
right,
that
right.
movie, you see it, and that's what
Yeah, it
makes
goes
that
right
movie
in the
freaking
eyeball.
Phenomenal. It's awesome.
Yeah, it goes right. You know that movie Zombie. I saw it when it was new in the theater because of the poster.
Mm.
I saw that poster.
I got the poster hanging.
Yeah, that poster. I was like,
I don't
oh,
have many posters hanging in my house, but I have that poster hanging up in my hallway over here.
yeah. I saw that poster. I was like, I got to see this movie. It's a great movie.
Yeah, for sure.
And then there was another scene.
I hated that he was like such a powerful like demon coming back from the dead, but then he almost got taken out by getting flushed down the toilet. At one
Right.
Yeah.
Like he gets stuck in the I'm like, come on, this guy's like a metal fucking warrior from beyond the grave, and he's almost fucking taken out with a toilet.
Yeah, he almost got taken out by the tidy bowl man, you know.
And how about that line Skippy says toward the beginning? Rock chosen warriors will be strong during the apocalypse.
Well, you know, there
There'll be the ones who, like,
supposedly there's a deleted scene from the movie where he daydreams that he's some sort of barbarian.
I
you
saw
know.
the
yeah,
picture.
I read that. I seen that.
There's a picture of it. Yeah.
We need
yeah.
the deleted scenes from this movie. We
It
need
kinda-
the deleted
it-
scenes. This
it-
deleted scenes will make this way more of a cult favorite if they
Mhm.
they release.
Oh,
it.
yeah.
When I read about that, it made me think about that film from a few years ago, Deathgasm, where he's like the rock barbarian with the chick with him, and all that stuff.
Mhm.
That's kind of what it reminded me of. Another crazy film, if anybody out there has never seen it, Deathgasm.
Yeah, that was good.
Heavy metal
fun.
horror. Great soundtrack on that.
More
one.
more modern version of the Trick or Treat movie, kind of like
Yeah.
they're in high school and all that. It's kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it is very, very close to the storyline for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Trick or Treat. Got to go check it out.
yeah, definitely.
And another one I used to actually watch with this a lot because also features a metal record. But I had a buddy, his dad owned a video store, and when they started switching over, because we still had a couple beta VCRs, he just gave us all this shit. So, the horror movies, the box art was so cool, and that's how I got to see a lot of this. But The Gate.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm-
They were real
Gate.
little kids though, as metalheads, but they were metalheads, and
Yeah.
I remember the
definitely-
kid
that
had
definitely
the
comes
kid
in.
he had a Venom back patch, and then
Yep,
later
wow.
on
Yeah.
he switched it to Killer Dwarfs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Worst
Yeah.
thing you ever-
That's a good
Well,
one. We gotta review that one.
It was
Yeah, I haven't
made
seen
in
that in
Canada.
years.
It was made
Yeah.
in Canada, so the dwarfs make a little bit of sense. But
There's been a lot of good, well, I wouldn't say good. There's been a lot of heavy metal horror films out there, over the years, like I mentioned Hard Rock Zombies, which is another good
oh
one.
god,
And one of my favorite horror slashers of all times are October Blood. Love that. I love the soundtrack to
love
that.
that movie.
How about Rock and Roll Nightmare with Thor?
Yeah, Yeah.
Thor.
Talk about
It's actually-
talk about
Slaughterhouse
cheesy
Rock
music.
is on the is a double feature on this TV Blu-ray. You get
Virgin
Oh, yes.
Steel's on
Slaughterhouse Rock on that too.
Virgin Steel's in that movie. The one you what was it called with Thor? What's that one? You just said it.
Rock and roll night.
Rock and Roll Nightmare. Yeah, I think he's in that
Yeah.
one. They're in that one.
Yeah, he had Rock and Roll Nightmare, and Thor was also in a film called Zombie Nightmare.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and
That's
then
a
they
really good one.
did another Rock and Roll Nightmare like about 15 years ago. That it was like straight to DVD that he's in, and it's nowhere as like the first one. But I know the guys from the band Cauldron are in it. They got an appearance in that. I got it from like Netflix when you used to could actually rent the disc from get in the mail. And I think that's where I
take
got it.
home.
Yeah, but
Well, to me, my favorite rock and roll, though this is old, because I saw this in the theater in 1974. Me and my friend were like, let's go to the movies. We didn't know what we were going to see. And they were showing a movie called Phantom of the Paradise.
I know you love that. Yeah,
That fucking movie. I ran out and bought the soundtrack. There's some heavy metal on there, 70s metal, like the band Undead and Beef doing Life at Last. That's pure metal, from 70s and shit. And I love the movie so much. Me and my friend went to go see it again the next week, and it was gone. It was a flop. But what's really wild about that movie, it was extremely successful in Winnipeg, Canada, and even bigger in France, where to this day, they still show it in the theater. It's been 40 years since 74. For 40 years, there's a theater in Paris that shows Phantom of the Paradise every day for 40 years straight. But it's a flop everywhere else. Winnipeg but what a fucking movie. I absolutely love Phantom of the Paradise. That'd be my favorite soundtrack of all time. I'm just a fanatic of that movie, but it's very much timeline. I'm a little kid.
You ever see that Stunt Rock movie?
love Stunt Rock. Yeah,
No, I never saw it.
you need to see Stunt Rock, Ralph. Yeah, it's on YouTube. So the same
That's
the
where I
same
watched
band, the same band that did the music for Rocktober Blood they were in the movie Stunt Rock. It's a band called Sorcery.
Except
Yeah,
for Rocktober Blood, Nigel Benjamin from Mott actually sings.
Mott he does the vocals, and he's in the movie. He plays the road manager in the movie.
Yep.
Because the guy lip syncs to him. Yeah, I always remember. I have a friend that's a big Rocktober Blood fan like myself, and I had a live Mott CD that I picked up once with Nigel Benjamin on vocals, and I went to his house and I played it for him. I said, "Tell me who this is singing," and about like probably 30 seconds into the first song, he goes, "That's the Rocktober Blood guy." He knew that voice, And it's funny too. I was telling a couple years ago, I was at the M3 Fest, and the band, the London Choir Boys, played, and I was talking to the guitar player after the show back at the hotel after party, and he was telling me that he played in a band with Joe Elliott from Def Leppard, and that does Mott the Hoople covers. And they call the Down and Outs. And I said, "Do you ever seen the movie Rocktober Blood?" He didn't know anything about it. I'm telling him about Nigel Benjamin, and he is just blown away by it. He's like, I'm going to text Joe about this right now, because I don't think he knows about it either, because they were like such big Mott the Hoople fans, and this dude's in the movie. But yeah, there's so many cool films. But you got to see Stunt Rock. Ralph,
Demons.
you'll dig.
The movie Demons. We did a show about demons too. That's a lot
that's a
of
great
metal
one.
stuff in there.
Demons had a lot of good stuff in it. Yeah. Count Ralphus, do you have that book that I think it's a bazillion points book that Ian Christie did about rock and roll, heavy metal in TV and film?
No, I remember. I could picture the cover and everything. I remember when
I
that
never
came
picked
out.
it up.
I never bought that.
I
Yeah,
need to pick that up, because that's always been a thing with me too. I love when you saw like the hard rock and heavy metal bands in like TV shows back in the day, like the thing with Moloch on Chips, Donnie Most playing Moloch on Chips, and it seems like every show had a Kiss character for something, for a while, where Kiss was so big. The Love Boat.
back in the day, like anytime you've seen any glimpse of anything from our metal world. Like I remember Married with Children, Kelly Bundy had a little Motorhead thing on her door to her bedroom, and I was like, oh my god. I mean, they had Anthrax on and stuff, but anytime we seen it was such little glimpses here and there. So there's lots of little stuff like that
Oh,
throughout
yeah.
the years. It'd be
Yeah.
cool to
I just
look
found a
into.
site here. It says the 10 best heavy metal horror movies. I haven't heard of some of these you guys mentioned already. Hard Rock Zombies and Monster Dog. Never heard of that one.
That's
Monster
without
Monster Dog,
that's
Alice
Cooper.
Yeah,
Cooper.
I
Yeah,
have
it
that.
looks like Alice Cooper. Okay, that's why it looked familiar. Rocktober Blood, 1984. Never heard of that one.
Tony was just talking about
We were
that.
just talking.
Tony was
about
just
Oh,
talking
I was
about
probably in Dreamland. Black Roses. Did anybody mention that one?
Black right here's Monster
Yeah.
Dog, which
I've
Alice
seen all of
Cooper.
those.
Alice Cooper said, and he actually told me because
I
I
never
asked him
heard of
about
that.
this. He said that wasn't even that they lost the original audio track, and that wasn't his voice that had been redubbed in, but it's his voice. He's mistaken because that's his voice on there. Some of you may have seen this was called The Dungeon Master.
I
You know,
have
the
that.
scene where they go to the Wasp concert, and that's why they've got Blackie Lawless on the cover of it. Pretty cool. Yeah.
Well, I want to tell you something about Dungeon Master. Was back when Wasp was a new band. MTV News had a segment where she said Blackie Lawless to star as the star of the movie Dungeon Master. So I'm thinking Blackie Lawless is the star of the movie. Then when I used to have my record store, there used to be a video store next to it. And I saw the videotape, and is that what Dio was holding up? It shows Blackie on the cover like he's the star of the movie, and he's only in the movie for like 5 minutes.
They're doing
Tormentor.
Tormentor in the film, and the star of the film is Richard Mull, the guy that played Bull on Night Court.
Yep, who recently died like maybe 6 months ago.
What's weird about that is when I watched the other night on my big screen outside, I watched Trick or Treat on my digital projector outside, and I was in the mood for another 80s movie. So I put in House 1 and House 2. And Richard Mull is in House 2, and he looks like SOD, like Sergeant D of SOD in the movie when he becomes a zombie. And it's Richard Mull in that scene, though. It's just weird because that was the next 2 movies I watched because I made it a triple feature out there.
Here's Rock and Roll Nightmare with Thor, Black Roses. Of course, this was a good one. This is about a heavy metal band that comes to a small town and corrupts the youth. And Carmine Appice plays the drummer in the band. And they do it was some original music written for it. There's a soundtrack for it. That King Cobra and Alex Massey did some original music, but it's got them doing Me Against the World from Lizzie Borden in it, and some other songs on it as well. Have you guys ever seen this? This was one of the Full Moon movies called Bad Channels.
Yeah, that's what Blue Oyster Cult.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, Blue Oyster Cult did the score.
Yeah.
And there's a scene where they go in a restaurant, and Ron Keel and the waitresses, the women turn into a rock band. That Ron Keel had a band that he fronted once that was all female, except for himself, called Fair Game, and that's who the band is in here. But yeah, it's a really cheesy flick as well. But DOC is DOC does the soundtrack to it, so the score that is, so that's pretty cool as well. Yeah, so many of them out there in the 80s were full of that stuff. There's a lot of stuff probably kind of under the radar for a lot of people.
Oh,
Yeah,
gee.
back when heavy metal
When
was
you're
cool.
nerds like us, you find it.
I mean,
you run across it.
Charlie Band, even before Full Moon, Dungeon Masters and Empire movie, he used to do all kinds of shit like that throughout the 80s. I think most of them probably are Empire Pictures movies.
Probably. Yeah.
Back when
for
heavy
me, a
metal
lot of
was,
the times that metal became like a song in a movie, it almost seemed out of place. Like in Demons, it's cool, like there's like these metal songs, but like all of a sudden it's like a music video, like the metal song comes on and then the action starts and stuff. Like I love how like in River's Edge, like he opens up the car, like he gets in his car and it's like Lethal Tendencies by Howl's Eve is playing, and then you hear some Show No Mercy songs here and there, but it's like in the background, kind of like I appreciate that kind of more than like just being blaring out. Like it just doesn't kind of fit sometimes with a movie.
Mm.
Yeah.
What was that movie that had Malice? Remember that movie?
Oh, that was trading. Was it Trading Places?
No, that's
Or-
Eddie Murphy.
No,
Like father, like son.
it was like these two guys. I think I got it.
It was Dudley Moore and the kid from I forgot the sitcom. Matt
Like
Cameron.
Fred Savage.
No, not Fred Savage.
No.
The other, Matt.
But yeah, Malice was in it. And then there's another one too that what's the film?
With Tom Hanks.
Yeah, this got Surgical Steel in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know this shit, and I'm having a brain fart. I know I've got something. I've even got a. This is a. Hold up, I got a weird one here. A couple weird ones. Crazy movie. This is a Police Academy ripoff called Recruits, and Thor's in this as well. He plays one of the cops. Yeah, John Michael Thor. He was doing, and then this is a movie called Blue DeVille, and they go to a concert, and it's the Joe Lynn Turner band.
Oh, vice versa.
Vice versa.
This,
That's
mo-
it.
this movie
Yeah,
has some
Judge
good.
Reinhold. That's right. That's
Yeah,
who it
Judge
was.
Reinhold. Yep. And yeah,
This
and
movie's
that's a
more
great
for
one.
punk rock people.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
got
yeah.
so many great songs on Return to Living Dead. I mean, Do You Want a Party from 45 Grave is just classic, man.
Yeah.
Such a kick-ass
The
song.
cramps, the cramps on here.
Yeah.
That's such
That's a hard record to find nowadays for a decent price.
It
too.
just got re-released, man. This is a re-release. I didn't have this when we did movie soundtracks on Sea of Tranquility. I only have the original cassette of it, but I got a brain splattered version recently
Who did
at a local bookstore.
Who did that? Who did that? Is that Lunaris? What was the company that did it?
Real Gone Music.
Oh, Real Gone. Okay. Yeah, Lunaris Records
Gone.
have done a lot of soundtracks. I mean, they're the ones they did the Hard Rock Zombies and the Rocktober Blood and all that stuff. Because the Rocktober Blood soundtrack only was available on vinyl as a promotional album that was sent to radio to promote the movie back in '85. So that's super hard to get. I remember King Fowley had it, and he made me a CDR copy of it until I, finally got the real deal a few years ago. But yeah, Lunaris does a lot of soundtrack vinyls, like reissues and stuff.
Yeah, I've been getting. That's probably the ones that I got, like an Exorcist newer version and an Evil Dead 2, and I know there's a whole line of like all these beautiful double gatefold vinyls that are coming out, and I guess they all from the same place. So that's probably what you're talking about.
Yeah, pretty cool. Yeah.
Since we're on the subject of horror, did anybody watch that docu-series Nothing But a Good Time?
Yeah.
I watched it. Yeah, I watched it the other night.
I saw
Yeah.
it.
And
It was okay. I thought it was pretty well done. I mean,
It's
it was
alright.
pretty much covered everything,
Yeah.
yeah, but do you feel like it was like stuff you've already like known?
I knew everything they said.
Yeah. Like,
I thought the Guns N' Roses
Wait a
story
minute.
was pretty interesting. I didn't really know that when they interviewed Alan Nevin, and he was talking about how close they were to not having a record deal anymore because they had blown all the money and goofed off for a year basically, and just I didn't know it was that close to them getting it all, the rug pulled out from under,
Yeah, but why add Trickster and Tough?
Yeah.
I think the only reason they put Tough in there is because they interviewed Steve Rochelle, and which that band did nothing, but he's the guy that
Wow.
started Metal Sludge. And I gotta say, man, I enjoyed Metal Sludge back in the day before we had social media and all, because God, he was ragging on everybody. He was the only news that matters before the only news that matters.
Now I'm ragging on everybody.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and then when it came out, I mean, people were like threatening him and stuff when they found out that it was actually him doing it, because he kept his identity a secret for a long time.
By the way, speaking of only news that matters, tomorrow I'm putting up a story about how Sebastian Bach tells everybody that doesn't agree with him politically that you're not cool enough to listen to Sebastian Bach, and all you should fuck off, which means he's alienated 50% of his audience. But the good part of it is he's still got a fan. But it's funnier tomorrow on the only news that matters.
I hope so.
It's really funny how I deliver it on that. So check it out.
Really
I'm
wish I
dying.
had a
I'm
trumpet.
dying for Sebastian Bach because I've done many Sebastian Bach stories where I call him Sebastian. He's a bitch, and this and I don't mind the guy. I like him, but I think he's a douche. You know.
He is
Yeah.
a douche.
He probably thinks by making a statement like that he'll actually gain fans because
Yeah.
now people that didn't like him will go, oh, well, he's on our side. So now we're going to like him. So
Yeah,
anything to get a couple more fans, I guess.
It doesn't work. It
Yeah,
doesn't work
it's
like
really
that.
smart. That's really smart.
You know when Johnny Solinger died, the guy that took his place in Skid Row, the day he died, some website put a picture of Sebastian Bach instead of Johnny Solinger saying Johnny Solinger died. Sebastian Bach lost his mind. Instead of, look, my condolences, this and that, he's like, I'm not fucking Johnny Solinger. Get my picture off that thing. It was like, dude, damn, bro. That's what upsets you? This poor guy died. He's such a douche. And
I wonder why his fucking bandmates don't give a fuck if you give them $1 billion. They will not take that asshole back with them.
No, you know why? Because Snake, the guitar player, suffers depression. He's got mental issues. Somebody that suffers depression, you don't want somebody like Sebastian Bach around. You know, I think they don't want him back for health issues.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's why they're not
mental health issues.
Yeah, mental health issues. They don't want him back because it could damage, you know.
They're like, is it really worth it? I mean, we're still getting paid well. Yeah, just don't worry about it.
No, and what a lot of people don't understand, they get back with Sebastian, they'll still be playing the same places they're
same
playing.
Venues. Absolutely.
Same fucking venues.
Yeah. Certain areas they might do a little better in, but for the most part it would be the same venues. Yeah.
And
I
those
see that as something that might happen if it's the very last thing they do. If they say, you know what, I'm done with this and I'm gonna maybe cash in one last time, then they maybe would do it because they put it off for so long. So it'd be like one of those things last minute, like, all right, we're gonna go out, let's make as much as we can, let's get that idiot back in the band.
I doubt.
Oh
it.
yeah.
I don't think Snake could ever do it, honestly.
Yeah, or Rachel.
Well,
You know,
I think I heard Rachel say once that he would rather be poor and have to eat leaves than play in a band with Sebastian Bach.
and Scotty Hill just came out saying, "Why do I want to be in the same room with somebody I don't like?" You know, he just flat out said, "I don't like the guy." You know?
the Ramones went like 20 years without looking at each other, you know. So
Yeah,
I
there's
mean, it
ways
could be
around
done.
it, you know. I mean, you know, like the whole Van Halen thing, you know, I think those guys had got to the point where they tolerated each other, but they weren't around it. From what I understand, they kept, you know, the Van Halens on one side of the arenas in dressing rooms, and Roth as far away in his dressing room as they could possibly keep them. And they only saw each other when they came on stage, you know.
Yep.
And it worked, and they made a lot of money.
And you know,
I seen Heaven and Hell. I seen Heaven and Hell and Judas Priest and Motorhead. They did that tour, and we stayed in the same hotel as like Priest and Motorhead. And in the morning, we could see them all like going out to their things and stuff, out to the buses. And it was weird because we were leaving. I checked out with Ian Hill right in front of me, and I met him, got a picture with him. And then we walked outside, and there's Glenn Tipton, but he's driving in a car with his family behind the tour bus. And KK and Scott Travis jumping in the tour bus with Ian Hill, and then Rob Halford with some other dude was going in a whole nother bus. And it was just like, hey, that's how it works for them. That's how they can deal with each other on tour. That's it, you know.
When I saw UFO years ago, they were traveling in a bus, and Michael Schenker was traveling in an RV with his wife and kids behind him.
Yeah, that's how Glenn Tipton was driving behind the car, behind the bus with his family.
Glenn wasn't driving, probably, was he? Well, yeah, that was
Yeah, at that time,
yeah.
no, at that time he was in the driver's seat.
I meant he probably
was like,
have a
"Yo, can I
drive.
get a
I figured he
picture?"
would have. I thought like he would just have a driver in general, you know, driving him. That was before he
No,
got.
yeah, it was weird. It was like his family, like I don't know exactly who it was, but they were in a car and they were parked right behind the bus, and we were parked like 10 feet away. And it was weird because I was like, "Can I get a picture?" And he was like, "Oh, it's early in the morning." He didn't want to get a picture. He's like, "I'll sign anything you got, though." And I ran to the car and I just grabbed a piece of paper. And I'm an idiot because I had a car full of Judas Priest CDs because I was listening to them on the ride down, getting psyched for the show. And I didn't think of grabbing a CD. I ended up meeting him again and got something signed. But
Man, that's the ultimate brain fart. You're going, damn, I had a bunch of Judas Priest CDs in here. And
I ran to my car 10 feet away. I ran to my car 10 feet away, opened the door, and grabbed the first piece of paper I found instead of the CDs that were sitting right there. And I just had him sign it. And now it's in a frame though with a Angel of
cool.
Retribution poster. So I put it in the frame with the poster. So
Yeah. That's cool.
By the way, I was just looking up any news about Trick or Treat because somebody did mention it in the chat here. I don't remember who it was, but Synapse, I guess the company that's releasing the new version, it's going to be in 4K UHD and all that crap. They're waiting on a documentary. Wow. They're waiting on a documentary to be completed. So that's what's been slowing it down. Then some other bonus tracks, not bonus tracks, but bonus content and everything's going to be added to it. So I guess a lot of things got submitted late, and that's why it's being pushed so far back. But it's supposed to be released this year. People were hoping like October.
It's awesome that they finally got past the. Yeah. They finally got past the fucking copyright bullshit, is what that means, and now we can freeze it and see exactly what button Skippy's got on his vest.
Yeah.
They'll be in 4K now.
Yeah. At least they didn't have to go back and re-record the songs or have another band do the songs or something.
Right.
I mean, that's been done.
Would not be the same.
Well, yeah, that's been done with films before though, but it couldn't get the clearance on a song, and they'll change a song in a scene or something, and it's if you know it good enough, it's not the same.
That's like I love Drew Carey. I love the Drew Carey show from back in the day, and I want that on DVD so bad, but they won't do it because of all the songs that they use during that whole show. They can't get all the licenses for everything, and they can't do it at DVD.
So weird that you think they would have paid for it when the shit was happening, and it wouldn't be a problem later on. It's such a weird thing.
That happened with Married with Children when they first put it on.
Yeah, Married with Children.
They
DVD's got a different fucking song before every song.
For the show, but it didn't apply to home media releases. It was weird.
Yeah. Yep. I have the fucking DVDs, and they're all different song before the show. Every show. It's so weird.
What are you talking about? The intro? The intro music?
The theme song,
yeah, the theme song right before every episode. It's a totally different song, without the singing. It's like kind of the same music, I think, but it was like different singing. There's no singing on it, no lyrics. It was probably a problem with the lyrics or something. I don't know.
Oh, it's because it was Sinatra. It said something about the rights for that, but it's funny. What they replace it with is like basically an elevator jazz version of the song without vocals.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it sounds familiar, but it's
great example.
Weird.
Great example.
Yep. Cool Destructor shirt, Greg.
Oh, thank you. I totally forgot I had this until I was unpacking boxes.
Everybody's got cool shirts. Halloween, Slaughter, and that Sabotage. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, Power of the Night. Well, guys, it was fun.
Yeah.
We covered it all, right?
Yeah.
I think so.
I think so. I mean, I could talk about it all night, but I've also seen it.
And the people in the chat.
There was a lot of really good scenes. Actually, somebody just posted a GIF in one of the things I was looking at, and the one scene where the guy goes flying off the stairs.
Yeah.
That scene. Dude, tell me that guy isn't crippled after that scene. If that really happened in real life, when they did that, when they filmed it, there was a bed down there.
Yeah,
there was some cushion he landed on. But if that was in real life, you see the way that guy flies, he's crippled. He's paraplegic after that scene. There's no way. If there was no cushion there, that kid would have lived. Yeah.
Just flying in the air off of those cement stairs.
Yeah.
Landing on the
Talking
Talking about
floor.
flying, they were throwing the guitar at one point and it was flying in slow motion through the air, but it should have been a flying V.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Wasn't a
What about the
flying V.
kid on the bike that when the car was out of control
Yeah, it jumped
and
in the
the kid
water.
rode off the bridge?
Oh yeah.
How about when they put a weight in back of Skippy's backpack in the water,
Mhm.
and he almost dies,
Mm.
but that chick Leslie jumps in and saves him, and he's still pissed. Get away from me! You set me up. Bitch, that
Well, it
chick-
turns out he was in the shallow end. They threw him in the shallow end and he fucking freaked out like an idiot and he was in the shallow end. So when they stood up right in that scene, it wasn't even in deep water.
that
Yeah, he
chick,
just had to
that
stand the
chick
fuck up.
saved his life from drowning. Should have
Oh,
been
yeah.
thankful. You set me up. Those
I'm
fucking
grateful.
assholes.
Well, that's just too fucking bad, isn't it, Leslie?
Remember when she came up to him and she said, "Are you listening to Judas?"
Yeah.
No, she doesn't say, "Are you listening to Judas?" She's getting ready to switch the tape, and she comes up and just says Judas, and he's like, "What?" Yeah.
Well, what's great about that is, like I said before earlier, is when they flip the tape out and throw it in the pile, there's a Hell Bent for Leather tape there. So maybe she just heard a Hell Bent for Leather song and was like, "Oh, are you playing some Judas Priest?"
Judas. Yeah, we could come up with all kinds of stuff off this all night, I'm sure.
Well, that's what's fun about this is that dissecting the little shit, and
Yeah.
what
that's right.
stickers they had and posters and
Yeah.
everything about it. But I think we covered it pretty good.
I think so. Good stuff.
For
Good
sure.
Yeah,
stuff.
man, it
sure.
was a lot of fun. A very informative episode. I want to thank everybody that tuned in. Everybody that left comments and joined in the discussion. I
Thanks
want
for
to
having
thank
me on.
Count Ralphus and Greg for joining us this week.
Yes, thank you for
We got
joining.
2 special guests. It was a lot of fun, guys. I appreciate you all joining us. And thank you again for the millionth time, Wayne and Tony.
Oh,
So-
anytime.
Absolutely.
Next week we won't be here, but the week after we will. And by then I'll be called Sir Fuck. I don't know if you heard Greg. Greg didn't hear, but next week,
Oh.
next Thursday, I'm flying to England. They're knighting me.
Awesome.
Yeah. I'm going to be called Sir Fuck.
You're gonna have a suit of armor. You gotta get a suit of armor.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like John Bush
Yeah.
used to wear.
Going with the sword ready to fight somebody. All right, everybody, till
All right,
2
very
weeks
cool.
from tonight. Thank you, everybody. Schmack 'em a gob.
Bye.